Hi guys, and welcome to my first, I'd say, crochet tutorial. I guess it's not my first because obviously I've made things before, but here we are going to have a beginner's guide, as in pretending you've never done this before in your life. So I hope you have, but if you haven't, we're going to start from the beginning. So just to make sure everybody's clear, I am using the US terms for crocheting because that is how I learned, and the majority of the patterns out there are in the US terms. You can convert fairly easily to the UK terms if you want to, but this is the way I learn, this is the way I do it, and like I say, most patterns you find out there are in US terms, so it's a lot easier to just use US from the off. So I have some double knit yarn, and I have a 4.5mm hook. Don't know if the camera can actually see that. This is what I prefer. Some people will say this hook is too big for this size yarn. Check your gauging once you get used to crocheting a lot more, and this is just my preferred. This is what I use for most things. Depends how tight, how loose you crochet, and what the pattern calls for. So, today I am just going to cover single crocheting. Mostly, I think, just single, because we'll do doubles in another and then halves in another. So this is single crocheting. So all I'm going to teach you to do is how to single crochet, how to start, how to rows, how to turn. We're going to keep it simple. So to start off, we've got the end of our yarn. I loop it over the top. So we have our yarn here. We put our end over the top like that, so we've got a loop, and all I'm going to do is flip that loop over the long tail, get hold of it, hold my short tail, and pull. And there we have our slip knot. Make it bigger, make it smaller. Just do that one more time because we can just pull it out. So I start with my yarn, my end goes over the top. I'm going to flip that loop over to the long side, hold my short, pull the loop, and we have a slip knot. And then what we can do is just pull that onto our hook. So got a nice easy loop. And then all we do to chain is, I do this by holding that tail in between these two fingers with my yarn hook for tension, and all I'm going to do with my hook is go behind and pull through. And I've got another loop. So hook goes round to hook onto it, pull through. So I'm holding tension on the yarn here with this finger, and then my middle finger and my thumb are holding onto the work. And as I crochet more, I will keep holding onto the work like this, but I will hold onto the work itself rather than the tail. So I've done 1, 2, so we're going to do 11 of these in total. Yes, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Now 11 is important because I'm going to do this in rows of 10. However, when you're crocheting, we always add an extra one on the beginning chain, or 2 or 3 depending on stitch, because we need one to turn. Now as I'm doing singles, I'm just adding 1 extra. So we are now going to learn about single crochets. So what I am going to do, because I think it gives a better result and I can actually show you the difference here, is I'm going to turn my chain over and work in just these single back loops. And I want to do it into not the first one because that's our chain, this second one here. So I'm going to work out where that stitch is and then turn it, and I just want to go into that back single loop here. So I've just gone through 1 loop. I'm going to show you the difference, so I've got some prepared squares here to show you. Now this one here, I have done what I'm about to do now, and I get this nice sort of uniform edge of 2 loops showing, and then on the top I've got the same 2 loops. Now the other way of doing this is I would go through 2, but this is the bottom you end up with. So it's just a single loop that's left, that's hair and loop, because there's always hair in crochet. So the top where I'd be working, I've got this nice double edge if I were to finish off with 2 loops. However, the bottom, I've just got 1, and I don't think that looks as nice. So I would prefer to have this. So that is what I am doing here. So I've gone through my 1 loop, and what I'm going to do now for my single crochet is, like I hooked before for the chaining, I'm going to hook my yarn and pull it through that 1 loop. So I now have 2 on my hook, and then I'm going to hook again and pull through both, and that is my first single crochet. And we're going to do that all the way across 10 times because we had 10 chains. So for my next stitch, we've gone into this one, so I'm going to move across one, find that single loop, go through it. So I've got mine one there and the one I've gone through. I'm going to pull a loop through that chain there. So I've now got 2 and pull through. I'm hoping this makes sense. So we're going to keep going. So that's that one complete. I'm just going to warn you now, if you do your chains really tight, this becomes a little bit trickier because they pull, as you pull on these pull tighter, so start loose. So I've done that one, so here is my next stitch. There is that middle loop. So I've gone through it. I pull up a loop, and then I pull through both of those. As you can see, we've got hair. One thing I will warn you about crocheting is hair gets in it. You will gift people things and they'll have your hair in it forever. So that's 3, so we're going to go through, hook, pull up a loop, hook, pull through both. So through that loop, hook through, pull through both. Through that single loop, hook, pull through both. Through that single, oh, gone through the back as well. So through that loop, pull up a loop, pull through both. Go through, pull up a loop, go through both. One's been slightly twisted, but it's there. So we're gonna go through that single one, yarn, pull up a loop, yarn, pull through both, and then last one. So we can see here we should have 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 stitches. That's what we want. That is our chain and our first row. Now, we need to turn and go back on ourselves. So there are 2 choices again here. I know what I like. I'm going to show you both results and you can then make a decision for yourself. So this one here, you can see my edges, hopefully, are slightly bumpy on both sides. So you end up with a slightly bumped edge. This one is what I do, and you end up with straight edges on the top. Well, up the sides, because that's bottom and top, so the sides are nice and straight. So when we need to go back on ourselves with single crochet, the first thing we're going to do is chain. So we're going to hook a loop, pull it through, and then we can turn our work. Now you have choices here. The one I'm going to do is to get the result in the green. However, if you want the result with the white, you are going to go for your next single crochet in this first stitch here. This is the easier way to do it when you're not counting, because you've got 10 very easy stitches to see, but you end up with the jagged, not straight edge, which is fine if you're going to put a border on. I often don't. So what I do is I've chained one, I skip this first hole, and I'm going to go into this second one here. And I'm going to go under both stitches. So there's 2, hopefully you can see there are 2 loops there. I'm going to go underneath both of them, but the single crochet stays exactly the same. So I've gone through, I pull up a loop, got 2 on my hook, I hook round, I pull through 2. So we're going to go across doing this. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, this is where you have to count with this method because you think, oh, I've got to the end. However, you've only now got 9 stitches. What we need to do is we need to do our last single crochet in this one here. You can just see these 2 loops that have nothing in, and this is the chain of the previous row. On the first row like this, it's a little bit trickier, but we need to make sure we go through 1. Oh, doesn't want to come over. 2 loops there, and then just finish off the single crochet as normal. So we've pulled a loop through both. This is what's going to give us the straight edges. Now, that first one is particularly awkward to count, but as you carry on through the rows, that last stitch becomes a bit more obvious. So we're at the end of our row, we chain 1, we turn. I'm going to skip that first stitch and go in here and carry on with my single crochet. As you can see here, I am now holding the work instead of the tail end, while I still keep the yarn hooked on my first finger for tension. 6, 7, 8, 9. And as you can see, this time that last stitch in the previous row's chain is a bit more obvious to see. 10. And then I'm just going to keep going. So I chain 1, turn, skip the stitch under the chain, go into here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we can see that last chain there. 10. And that is how I personally do my rows, because I think that's the best method. In my eyes, that's the best method. And then you just carry on with that for as long as you're wanting. So if you're doing a scarf, you could make this wider and then just do as many rows as you like, or you can use it to build on to following projects. The last thing, just to show you, I'm not actually going to cut my yarn because I will pull this out to show other things, but all you need to do is you'd snip off your yarn here somewhere, leaving a tail, and then all I do to make sure is it doesn't unravel itself is I would hook, pull through, and then I just pull through tight and that loop goes tight. But yeah, single crocheting is simple as that. See you soon.